see me in action. You think the come up comes overnight? You ain't behind the scenes. Trust me, these things don't just happen. No shade at Gerald.
How are you, everybody? Welcome to our YouTube channel, Voice from the Corner. I'm here with Peter McDonough, the main man. I'm Dan, Vanilla Gorilla. Look us up, Instagram, Peter McDonough Boxer, is it? Or Boxer, Peter McDonough?
Peter McDonough Boxer on Instagram, at McDonough Peter on Twitter. And,
at Voice from the Corner.
At Voice from the Corner on Twitter as well, and on Instagram.
Go on YouTube, subscribe if you haven't already. So today's discussion is about the structure of professional boxing. You're a boxer, man and boy, amateur. Went into a pro. Tell us a little bit about how that happened. How you went from an amateur. You had a very good, relatively long amateur career, Pete.
Yeah, very long. Well, I started when I was 8, so 35 years experience is a long time.
Competitively boxing at 8?
Well, I started fighting at 11.
Yeah.
Fighting at 11 because you couldn't fight till you was 11. I think it might be 10 now, but it was 11 at that point. So obviously we're going to talk today about the structure of boxing. It ain't changed since I turned professional 17 years ago. You know, obviously retired now, but 17 years ago, it ain't changed, and I don't think it had changed 20 years before that. So for me, I just want to pick up on a few points today, what I think can be put into boxing, for boxing to go forward. Because for me, boxing...
You say it's behind the times?
Yes, I think it's a great sport, and you know, there was a big thing on TalkSport the other day. Shout out to my mate Darren Goff, who gave us a mention. Yep. There was a thing on TalkSport the other day. There was a man on there talking about banning boxing. Boxing should not be banned for young women and young kids, like young boys, young girls. Young boys, young girls. You know, it helps them through hard times at home. You know, in life. So I think boxing's great. But what I do think needs to change in boxing, I think the structure needs to change in boxing. You know, and as we're sitting here today talking about it, professional boxing, not so much the amateur, because even down to the top amateurs now, they're getting funding and all that sort of stuff. But that's another subject we'll talk about another time, about amateur boxing. But today we're here to talk about professional boxing and the structure of professional boxing. So, start with the first point. I believe before you turn professional, you've got no experience. You've got no one that speaks to you about what it's like to be a professional. So I think there should be people put in place to do that. You know, advisors. I definitely think it should be advisors. This is the first step. What I think needs to change.
So what you're saying is that who would decide what amateur fighter would need that advisor? Because I mean, you got hundreds of thousands of kids coming through ABA clubs.
Yeah.
Small percentage of them would go professional. I think it would turn over. So boxing is a sport that's not funded heavily.
Yeah.
Especially at amateur level. Not like football. Not like the national sports. Like the amount of sponsorship and TV rights that football gets. The big clubs, Chelsea, Manchester City, Tottenham, and to name just a few, have pumped millions and millions of pounds.
What about Millwall?
Well, that's an episode itself there. They pump millions and millions of pounds into youth training systems, camps, guys going out to schools, scouting, bringing them in. And when people are in the academy, they're a multi-million pound business.
So who does that? Is that the FA?
No, the majority of that, the FA do have their schemes, but money that's pumped from TV rights, sponsorship, that competition winning rewards, Champions League, Premier League, that just gets re-pumped in. But then obviously it's not a level playing field, and the fact that certain clubs have had a head start.
Yeah.
So they're financially better ownership, more competitive, earning more money, better players, attracting players, selling better players. That's a totally different thing. But so it's hard to compare boxing to any other sport because it's not like that. There's no money in amateur boxing.
It's hard to compare it to any other sport because, reiterating again, it's about the structure of boxing. It's about, you know, for someone that's been in it for 17 years, and I've seen these kids come through, and you know, and I was there once myself.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, what you got to look at is, to turn professional, you don't even have to have had a pro fight, an amateur fight. You know, that's the madness of professional boxing. You know, so
go on, let me ask you a question, because you'll know the answers. A lot of people won't know the answers. I'm an amateur fighter.
yeah.
Whether I've got a fantastic amateur pedigree or a terrible amateur pedigree. I'm not an amateur boxer, by the way. Just talking, who would determine when and how and if I turn over to a pro?
You.
So I could just go in and I can decide that I want to be a pro.
Yeah, I want to be a pro, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically...
And what do I do from there?
So if you come to someone not like me, because I'm not involved, if I was involved, I will tell you what I would tell you if I was involved. But if you go to someone else, you come to me, right, Dan, you want to turn professional. How many tickets can you sell?
It's that basic, yeah?
How many tickets can you sell? How many?
Very few.
Very few.
Don't
Waste of
bother.
time.
Yeah.
Don't bother. Right? So that's the first question. If you pass the first question, how many tickets can you sell? 500? Yes. I'll get you a fight soon. Yeah? Right? Don't worry if you can fight or not, mate. I'll get you someone with no arms. Yeah? Because, we'll keep you winning.
Because you're selling tickets.
Because you're selling tickets. Right? And for me, that's not the questions that managers should be asking. The manager should first know your resume as an amateur, know you can hold your hands up, know that you've got a foundation, and know you've come from a good club, yeah? And I would look for maybe, not even ABA titles anymore, I'd look for like Commonwealth Games, European medals, maybe, Olympic medals.
Fair enough, but not everyone's going to get to that level as an amateur. And some people are fantastic amateurs, not great pros, and others are average amateurs and become great pros. So, I mean, the leveling of it. I
wouldn't say that they become not so good amateurs and become good level pros. I wouldn't say that. I would argue that point, because I'm on about good pros. I'm on about world champions. You know what I mean? Most world champions have had a decorated amateur career. There's not many. You might get one or two slip through the net.
No, I agree with that. But there's very few world champions compared to the number of pro boxers there are. So there's a lot of pro boxers.
So if you wanted to go, in another aspect, if you wanted to go pro, and you said to me, you come to see me, and you went to me, I said, why do you want to go pro? Because I want to live the dream of going pro. I want to have a fight. That's a different aspect. But if you're looking for aspirations of moving on to turn pro, like doing well as a pro, you've got to come to me with some sort of medal, to make money. If you want to make money, you've got to come to me with an Olympic medal. Forget ABA titles and even Commonwealth medals. You ain't going to get nothing. Do you know what I mean? So that's the first step. That's the step that's wrong straight away, because how do you turn pro? Turn up, go for an interview, you're a pro.
Sell tickets.
Sell tickets, you're definitely a pro. Yeah? I mean, so that's the first obstacle which I think needs changing. I've done a thing with Lou DiBella a few months ago on my podcast, and we was talking about it. Lou DiBella said, listen, if you don't get an Olympic medal, waste of time going pro. If you think you're going to get money out of it. Do you get what I mean?
I don't know, there's exceptions to that rule, surely.
There is exceptions to that rule, and there is people that have done it. But it's a very, very low minority. You know what I mean? When you turn professional, it's the only job in the world where you go to work and you've got to pay to go to work. What other job in the world do you have to pay to go to work? What other job?
No, most jobs you've got to pay to get to work.
No, at the end of the week you get paid again. You get paid the money back.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So there's no wage at the end of the week.
No, okay, fine, yeah. So your wage is what you earn on a fight night.
There's no, unless you've got sponsors.
No, of course.
Unless you've got sponsors. So how can we class this as a professional sport like football? At the end of the day, they're getting paid every week. They're getting paid every week. A fighter's getting paid after his camp. By the time his money comes out for his camp, ask me the question. How much does ask me the question on levels of fighters. What levels? What money do they get when they first turn pro?
All right, so domestic level, challenging for domestic level titles.
Well, don't you want to start from just turning pro?
Well, just turning pro, they're getting sweet FA, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, you're getting £800 a fight if you can sell tickets. £1,000 a fight. I'm not talking about exceptional fighters. I'm talking about normal run-of-the-mill pros. Yeah? So, if you're getting 800 quid to £1,000 a fight, and you're having to have time off work, how much have you really made? You make more stacking shelves in Shatter to Tesco's, Sainsbury's, Lidl's, McDonald's. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
So, domestic levels. Now we're looking at titles, domestic titles. We're looking at, we're talking 18 months to 3 years down the line.
Yeah.
We're talking British title, not really a name or whatever. 8 to 15 grand
Per fight.
per fight.
How many fights are they getting?
You might fight twice a year. What that? 16 grand a year to 30 grand a year. That's not even a lot of money, is it?
Expenses and stuff.
No, you got to pay everything out
Something like
yourself
that, yeah.
and sparring partners. So by the time you've got your camp, you've done your camp, you've paid for your food, you paid for your camp, and you paid for your sparring partners.
Medical
What are you left
bills.
with? 25% to a manager, 10% to a trainer. It's madness. I mean, let's go on to the point of a trainer, right? It's the only man in the circle that's not got a contract. Why has a trainer not got a contract? I think a trainer should be given a contract. He spends the most time with that fighter. Why does a trainer get 10% when he spends the whole time with that fighter? I'm telling you now from having trainers. I had more trainers than JD Sports, like I say. But why don't they get 25%? Why is the manager getting 25%?
I couldn't answer that question.
See what I'm saying? So it don't make sense. It don't make sense. I think the man that's around you all the time, you're more of a son to him than his own kids, yeah, should be getting that 25%. You know? Yeah. That's my opinion.
That's an argument to have,
Yeah, everyone's got different opinions, you know what I mean? You know?
Who structured it in that way, where the trainer gets 10%? Where's this structure come from? Where is it set out? Where is that the generic agreement that everybody has with their trainer and their manager?
Well, before I get to that point, before I miss what I was saying, I took a lot of shots to the body, not to the head. So, before I get to that point, I want to go back to what you said about everyone has to pay to go to work. But like I say, at the end of the week, we don't get that money back, which you get wages,
salary,
right? You get salary, right? I want to go back to that point, right? It's the only job in the world where you're the boss, but you're not in control. You are the boss. I'm the fighter. The TV are looking at the fighter, yeah? Everything around is the fighter.
Yeah, cool.
But you're not in control. Everyone else takes control of what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? So, as we say, where was you going back to then? Sorry, I got lost there.
You're talking about the percentage breakdown that everybody gets.
Well,
where does that come from?
The percentage breakdown is on a bit of paper, yeah, which is 2 A4 sheets of paper, which is a British Boxing Board of Control.
So that is all outlined by the BBO.
BBO. So I don't know how they've worked that out. So it's basically the promoter gets the most, the manager gets the second most, the trainer gets the third most, and the fighter is left with what is left. Yeah, you know what I mean. I understand. Give a manager 25% if he's doing the right job managementally for you. You can ask me what does a manager do? What is a manager supposed to do?
So, I will ask you that. When you first turned pro, who was your first management team?
My first management team was Eugene Maloney and Frank Maloney.
And so, what did they do? What did they do for you? What was there? When you sat down with them, or when you agreed to sign with them and then be your management? What was? Why did you choose them? What was put on the table? You would have had offers elsewhere.
Listen, son. Just stay with us. Listen to what we got to say, and you'll become a world champion. Yeah? Listen to what we got to say. Don't ask how much money or nothing. Just listen to what we got to say. Dangle that carrot, son, and you will keep running at it. So it's basically a little bit of that. I signed the contract. I was under contract for 3 years with obviously Eugene Maloney. They said they'd get me so many fights a year, but you still had to sell tickets. It's crazy. It's the only. You ain't only got to train, fight. You got to promote yourself because you got to sell the tickets. You're the promoter. Don't you sell the tickets? Yeah.
You do your own self.
So you're doing everything.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Of course.
And then you're off telling them who you should be fighting, what level you're at. You know. So That's what it was when I first turned pro. But for me, if I was managing a fighter, I would tell them what the sport's about first, yeah? No hiding nothing back. No rubbish about dreams and this and that. Tell them about reality, what it's really like, yeah? Tell them what the money's really like. I will try and get them sponsorship. Anything I can get them sponsorship, sparring, paid sparring, you know. Bring them along in the right way. Make sure I know the fighter properly, so I can guide his career. I know what's good for him, what styles are good for him, you know. And when a promoter says, "Do you fancy this fight?" and I don't fancy the fight, I'm not going to take the fight, because the problem was my career was left in my hands. So I'd go, I'll fight him. It was only natural for me as a fighter to do that.
Yeah, if you're a fighter, man, you're in the game to fight.
Yeah, the problem is now, a lot of fighters now ain't, you know, they don't want to fight at all. Do you know what I mean? They just want to be on Instagram or whatever, shadowboxing and doing whatever. Do you know what I mean? But to me, these people don't understand what boxing really is. Boxing is a hard game. It's the hardest game in the world. I'm telling you now, I'm retired. Yeah, it's the hardest game in the world, right? My few bits of advice I'll give you people, right, you fighters out there, right? Make sure you know where your money's going, yeah? And make sure, don't let no one throw you in too early, right? And, you know, and that's my first bit of advice to fighters, you know?
So listen, you got all these people around you. You're a young fighter. You got the boxing board of control.
Yeah.
You got promotional teams. You got management teams. You got your gym staff. You got all the different federations that you would end up fighting in. Surely there's support from within those as a pro. No,
there's no support whatsoever. And this is what I'm saying again about structure. You know, I'll be honest with you. When I lost my first fight, I walked out of the York Hall. I sold about 300 tickets. I walked out of the York Hall on my own, with me rucksack, with me trainer. My trainer's with me still, with me trainer, and even my ex-wife had left with someone else. That's the reality of it.
Is that how bad you were?
So listen, it's okay when you're winning, yeah. Let's see when you lose. Listen, most fighters when they lose, they give up anyway, because you know they know that, you know, they can't come back. But believe me, I realised and learnt the hard way, because everyone's on your side while you're winning, but when you lose, you really realise the people that are around you. You know, you got no support.
So what should be implemented then, and by whom?
Well, I think there should be, you know, especially if you're a good, you know. I'm not saying if you're.
Is there an association that looks after boxers? Like,
no.
Is there nothing like that? Nothing like the PFA.
No.
So you're not like a little union. You know,
No.
There's no one there.
No. I think they've tried it a couple of times. I think Barry McGuigan tried it once. I think there's a few people that have tried it, but it's never come off. And the British Boxing Board of Control, I think, tried to stop it happening.
What are they there for? What is their role?
I don't know. You ask me.
Well, what do they do?
You ask. Well, they take your licensing fees. They do your medicals. Make sure your medicals are all intact. Done well for me, boys. You know, and take their taxes off the promoters. But really, the promoters are running the shows. You know, I mean, I'm going to give MTK a shout out here, because, like I say, the only management team I had that did do things for me was MTK in all of my career, which it showed in my last few fights as well. But I'm seeing they're starting to put things into place. They're starting to put academies into place, right? They're starting to put like apprenticeships into place, which I think is great. All that sort of stuff. I think is brilliant.
Needed,
you know, for me, I'd like to see MTK start a boxing board of control, right? I think it's only going to happen sooner or later. You know, the boxing board of control closed down in January. I don't even know why they closed down. Eddie Hearn said, if it don't open back up, I'm doing my shows abroad. Yeah. You know, so apparently it closed down because of the virus, what's going on. But they're opening back up in February. The virus ain't getting better, it's getting worse.
No, and then why would boxing shut down when other sports have continued?
Well, I don't know.
Is it because they don't get the grants, they don't get the financial backing to continue? I don't know.
Well, there was something about, you know, all other sports got a lot of money a little while ago.
Yeah.
and boxing never got nothing. But is it because, listen, when you start a business, yeah, there's a business plan. This is what we're doing. There's no business plan.
Is it a business? Do they class themselves as a business? What do they class themselves
I
as?
don't know.
An organisation?
I don't know if it's a circus. Let's be real here. Let's be real here. I've got an 8-month ban, yeah, for pushing someone, yeah. So I was with the Irish Boxing Board of Control at the time. They give me the band, right? They give me a 4-month band, right? Yeah. So when the English board wanted to put me up to do the band on me because it was in England that I'd done it, I said, hold on a minute. That's it. Section 50. You people didn't know I was this clever, did you? Section 50 on the Act, yeah, that you can't get done for double jeopardy, yeah? They said, don't matter. We're not a proper organisation. That's what they told me. They're a limited company.
Okay.
How can you become a limited company when you're working with these sort of people? When you're working with fighters that can lose their life in the ring.
Yeah, no,
someone's got to be held accountable for it, then. Yeah. Who's going to be held accountable for it? Do you know what I mean? So, going past that, right? You know, I'm not digging anyone out here. I'm trying to make the sport I love better. That's all I'm trying to do is make the sport I love better. Yeah? And I think there is people out there that can make this happen. You know, I believe there is big organisations that can make this happen. And, you know, just listen, fighters retire. I retired. Right? God rest his soul. Nicky Booth died the other day, right? A lot of people out there turning around saying, rest in peace, Nicky Booth. Rest in peace. I know, some of them were like 20-year-old. Like, they weren't even born when he was fighting. But, again, you know, but it's respect to someone that's just died in a sport people love. I understand that. Right. You've got other people out there, rest in peace, blah, 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 who are highly high-powered people to a degree. Hold up a minute. Why didn't you ring him while he was alive and say, how are you doing? We all knew he had problems as a drug addict when he was fighting. Oh, was it his last fight when he fought? I think it was Nottingham. He fought Nathan Sting and got beat. He was high as a kite after that fight. You know, he retired and got forgotten about. They leave people.
This was what I was going to ask next. So we spoke about how these federations and organisations support you or don't support you during your career. What's set up for boxers? It's a very short career, really. I mean, yours was quite long, longer than most.
Oh, I was blessed.
What's set up for these people? What's set up for people after their career? I mean, do they help train them as coaches and sponsor promoters and the like? Is there any post-career or career elongating facilities involved or set up?
No, again, I know I'm reiterating again about MTK, but again, the only people when I went to hospital that looked after me was MTK. They was the only people. My management team looked after me and helped me out financially, to a degree. You know what I mean? Helped me out financially. There is nothing set up with any organisation that you get anything afterwards. Do you know what I mean? The only organisation I've had dealings with, I can't announce too much here today, but it's a WBC. I've had dealings with since my career was ended. You know, and there'll be big news on that when that comes out as well. But the WBC, so shout out to the WBC as well. Again, this is real. This is me talking real of how it is. You know what I mean? Like I've done it at every level. I've been an opponent. I've been a house fighter. You know, I've boxed abroad. I've boxed all over the world. So I know how it all works. I know all the taxes work. They go to the border control and things like that. So what I think needs to happen, what I think should happen, and if there is people out there now listening to this that are thinking about doing this, I'll give you a bit of advice on it. What I think needs to happen, like you say about any organisations that help people and all that, why when we get these big fights, right, the promoters don't take a percentage off the big fights that happen? I'm not talking about small, I'm talking about big world title fights, big TV rights, pay-per-view. You're using pay-per-view to using it to the high heavens.
Listen, pay-per-view is another conversation altogether. It's a scandal. Some of the prices for some of the fights that are being made pay-per-view.
They're Primark fighters, mate. They're not Arrows fighters. They're Primark fighters.
Well, yeah, listen.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
we might get away
that way if you want. But
we might get away of calling them Tesco fighters. But listen, they're not elite fighters.
No, and I think a lot of that is the promotional team and the TV people preying on, especially now, the fact that there's people, there ain't much going on for people. So you sit on a Saturday night and you think, I'm not paying 25 quid to watch that, and then you sit.
But what else is there?
And you sit and you do it.
You know what I mean?
Just because if you're a boxing fan, you'll end up doing it.
25 quid.
It's scandalous.
25 quid. 25 quid. I listen to your missus. Paying 50. I paid for it twice at once. Do you know what I mean? But yeah. I mean, like I say, they are positions. Right. If we're going to use pay-per-view to promote some of these fighters, yeah, a tax should come off that goes back into a bowl, right? Yeah. If you retire from boxing and you want to get out of boxing totally, I understand that. You want to walk away from boxing, you want to get out totally, right? But why don't we set structures up, right? I'm going to put this to MTK because they're already doing it and they're already putting things in play. Right. Trainer course, manager course, cutsman course, even a media course. All them things we can put in a place. A judge, a referee, a promoter. Ask me how I would run that if it happened.
Pete, how would you run that if it happened?
So, if we had a trainer's course, I would say, what's your experience as a trainer? I've got no experience as a trainer. I've done a few Instagram videos or YouTube.
He loves his YouTube and
Instagram. No, but I've done a few.
No, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, right. So I'd say, right, you've got no experience. You've never boxed. You can still become a trainer if you listen.
Of course.
Yeah. I want you to do a 2-year course. We are going to pay you 30 grand a year, right? That can keep the wolves away from the door, just to pay bills, yeah? Right? Most people, when they finish boxing, mate, are still on their ass and still living in a council place. That's the way it is. I'm a little bit better off. I'm living in a mansion. Do you know what I mean? Swimming in a bathtub. But, so what I would say is this. So 30 grand a year, I'm going to give you. I want you to spend a year in the amateur club and teach a kid the fundamentals, the basics, yeah? Then after that year, you will, what they call it when you move up, like in university.
Graduate.
You'll graduate to be under a good top boxing trainer. 2 years down the line, you get your certificate if you pass what we tell you to do, yeah, and you become a new trainer on the road.
Within your own right.
Yeah. A trainer.
So did you talk about for ex-boxers?
No. That's for anybody, right? As long as you pass the test at the end and the right questions, because I've been there, so I can ask you them questions.
Do you think, slightly off, do you think ex-pros make the best trainers? Or is that not necessarily... Listen, again, we go to football. All the 98% of football managers, 98% of coaches, academy coaches in football clubs have played football at a professional level.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but most of them have played football.
Yeah.
A lot of them to the highest level. Some of them not as high, obviously. You've got levels as you have in boxing with the clubs and the leagues and stuff, but you got someone like Jurgen Klopp, Mourinho, Arsene Wenger, who may not have played at the top level, but have all been top level coaches.
Yeah.
But then you've got other top level pros who haven't been as successful as managers.
Yeah.
In boxing, how do you think the relationship from being an ex-pro boxer to being a trainer? How does that work? Do you need to have been top level? Do you need to have been through everything, seen everything, been in every situation to then take a boxer to then teach him? Or do you think you can learn certain things outside the ring?
No, you don't. And people in boxers are going to think, hold on a minute, Pete, what do you mean? They don't know what it's like to be cut. They don't know what it's like to be chinned. They don't know what it's like to be, you know what I mean? They don't know what it's about, what the diets are like. No. I don't think that. And if you become an advisor, I think you've got to have done it all.
Been in the game.
100%. Because you're teaching, you're telling someone. But to become a trainer, I don't think you have to have done that.
No, because I mean, you look at some of the top trainers and very few of them have been top level boxers.
Some of them never been hit on the chin.
No.
Some of them never been hit on the chin. Let's say that again. But what I'm trying to say is there should be some sort of structure. If there's some sort of structure, again, we've got a business plan. There's no business plan, is there? There's no business plan. If you say to me, what is the structure of boxing, that you've got, I'll give you a contract and you just sign it. That's what you've got to sign. That's it. Honestly, it's on the cheapest bit of A4 bit of paper you've ever seen in your life as well. It's not even... There's
Recycled.
Well, yeah, but I'm into recycling. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes I'm throw it in the wrong bin, but yeah, no, but what I'm trying to say is, so there's no fanciness about being a professional boxer. But when you sign a contract as a professional footballer, things are different. We had a professional footballer here the other day. He turned his back from football. Do you know what I mean? We sit there with professional footballers. Sat there with Ashley Cole and had a 3-hour conversation with him over the difference between boxing and football. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing. There ain't that much after football. You're punting or whatever.
Well, hold up. No, you say that, but even to become a coach, you have to get your levels. You can't just do it. They set that up.
Yeah, but listen, let's forget that for now. He's sitting there saying that, but he's secure. Boxers come away from it lucky if they got a caravan. I swear to God, that's the truth of it. That is the truth of it. That's me being real. That really is. Do you know what I mean?
I understand that.
I walked away from boxing 20 bags in debt. MTK helped me and got me out of that trouble. Because they was my management team and done the right thing for me. But if I never had MTK, if I was just like any other run-of-the-mill fighter, I would still be 20 grand in debt. Probably 40 or 50 grand in debt.
And is this why so many boxers, after their career, they turn to drugs, they turn to alcohol, they have mental health issues?
100%. And I'll tell you another thing. Yeah? The thing is, why do you think boxers walk away from boxing? Because after their boxing career, there's no structure. If there was a structure and said, you know what, you can become a trainer. We'll give you 30 grand a year to become an apprentice trainer. Yeah? Because I think boxers should be 1 year. It should be 1 year for boxers. Do you know what I mean? Right? We're going to leave this here at part 1. Join us for part 2. Please subscribe.
Hit the button.
If you enjoy it, if you enjoy the content, please subscribe. Part 2 coming straight after part 1.
If you like that, give us a like, comment and a subscribe. You big dosser.